Welcome to the second video looking at Visual Arts Syllabus, the content areas. This particular video looks at the conceptual framework. Let's get started. As we already spoke about in the introduction, there are three different content areas in visual arts: practice, conceptual framework, and the frames. Essentially, the conceptual framework is made up of four different agencies. The artwork is in the central aspect because from the artwork all the other three interrelate and link with one another. We have an artist who has made the artwork, the artist who comes from a particular time and place in the world, and we have an audience who looks at the artwork and they also come from their own particular time or place in the world. Depending on this will actually impact on how they understand and relate to the artwork. Essentially what you need to remember is that there are four agencies, and these will actually interrelate and connect with one another depending on what you're being asked to do. Sometimes you're asked to deal with all four, sometimes you're only asked to deal with two, and in that case you need to always consider what's been asked of you. So let's actually look at this in terms of an actual example of an artwork. Most people are familiar with Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, which is what we can see here on screen. When we look at artworks, they always are accompanied by a citation list, which is the title of the artwork, the date it was made, the materials it's been made with, the size of the work, and often the location it's kept in. This particular work has been placed in the center of the conceptual framework because it's the artwork we're talking about. As we know, it's been made by Leonardo da Vinci and he is our artist, which is located on the bottom right-hand side of the diagram. Details about the artist, when they were born, where they were from, particular aspects that would help us understand the artwork are often recorded under this agency. We know that Leonardo da Vinci was a Renaissance man, which meant he was working in the 1500s. And his particular world was structured quite differently to ours. We had the Catholic Church, which was very, very powerful, who ruled pretty much most of Italy at the time. Plus we had very wealthy merchants and princes who also controlled the city-states in Italy, or what we now know as Italy. Italy was not a country at that particular time. The audience for this particular artwork was originally the lady's husband. We know Mona Lisa was a particular lady and her husband was a cloth merchant from Florence. This is actually not her husband, but it's the closest I could find to an example of a merchant from the time. So he was the original audience, and anybody else who would have come to their house, because this artwork would have been traditionally kept in the house where they could look at the work. Now, the interesting thing about this particular artwork was that somehow it doesn't remain, or never did, become the property of Mona Lisa's husband. And we next find the work actually belonging to a French king called Francois I. This artwork, being a part of his collection, influences French art and the way that French artists actually create work. The Italians were leading the world in terms of art making at that particular time. So Francois I was the new audience member for this particular artwork, and also anybody else in the French court that he chose to actually share this work with. Today, this artwork is actually kept in the Louvre, a public museum in Paris. And as you can see from all the people lined up here in the gallery, the audience is quite a different context to what it was traditionally. Here we see the artwork behind bulletproof glass, and we have selfie sticks and people with their mobile phones, all very carefully experiencing the artwork. Seeing the artwork now as a tourist destination and on the bucket list of many people. So what you can see here from looking at this particular artwork is that with an artwork there are all these different variables or relationships that are actually taking place that influence how we understand and respond to this artwork. This is extremely brief. There are a lot more details that we can actually explore further, but for the sake of an introductory lesson, this is all I'm going to impact you with today. Thank you very much for listening.